Hey everybody, this is marcb0t here with episode 2 of the marcb0t hour. I am back. Sorry, my computer just crashed. Okay, I'm just typing a message here. Okay, so today we're gonna continue on with that Super Mario Bros. 3 cover. Is this thing even... Are we streaming right now? Like, seriously? Okay, well. Let me see here. Okay. I just gotta make sure that everything's good. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Alright. Hey there, DirectX. How's it going? Okay, so we have a couple of questions that I want to answer from the Deflemask community. I think one of them was... for Sega Master System. So our friend h0ur, he says, what would you do for a decent Sega Master System kick bass drum? Well, let's see here. It's not very complicated, so I'll just go to I'll just go here. We'll just go to the Sega Master System setting here. So what I like to do, and what a lot of people do, there's two ways to go about this. So you can use the tracker here and do it manually. So I usually go to about an octave 3, so, or well, octave 2 C, and what I do is I will put an off, and like a key off command, using the tab key a couple spaces down. And then what I'll do is I'll enter the effects command for the downward pitch bend 2, and we'll probably go to maybe a 7/7. Maybe kind of reduce that space. And we can also go yeah. Okay, well what happens is if you go too far down, it will flatline at the lowest note, which is not very low. So you want to be a little more subtle. And you could even go higher like this and do it, or maybe a 9/9. See what happens. That's a little too high. Yeah, we'll just stick to 7/7. So yeah, basically something like that. So what we could also do for like drums, you know, you want to kind of beef it up a little bit. Well, we could use the 3 pitch mode setting, so 2/0 instead of 0/2 and 0/1, and that will set it to the default mode. So what we would want to do is make a new instrument here. And then I'll make like a separate snare drum setting. Right. and you know, we could have this go like this. It's got a nice pop to it. And then we could go up in pitch a little bit here. Kind of lower that. Something like that. I don't know. Anyway, you get the gist. Probably 4/4, yeah. And wash, rinse, and repeat, right? As they say. Yeah, I don't like that. We'll just do back to B. Okay, so here we go. Oh, I see why. Alright. It's a nice little techno beat. Alright, well I hope that clears up that little question there. Okay. Let me see if anybody got the... let's see. No. Guess not. Oh well. I'm just going to do my live stream for anybody who wants to come on, and that's perfectly fine. Now, there was another question here on one of the boards here. I think it was on the learning channel. Yes. Hi guys, I have a question regarding Sega Genesis sound, and not about the FM channels, but the SN channels, otherwise known as PSG. I have an issue when playing sounds in the SN3. Every fourth note or so is distorted. Also, it seems to affect the noise notes that play in SN4. Is this normal? Okay, so it's really tweaky when you're using we're just going to switch to new because I could always recreate that pretty easy. So it's really tweaky when you're using the PSG chip portion. So this channel right here, the SN4 channel, it's got 4 different modes, and mode 1, 2, and 3 is basically the low, the medium, and the high sound. So those are modes 1, 2, and 3, and basically they're all here. Watch. So yeah, basically this would be mode 1, this would be mode 2, and mode 3. And modes 1, 2, and 3, they can either be the hissing noise sound, or they can be a pulse width modulation sound. So if I set that to 2000, it sounds like this. And those are the only, those are the first 3 modes. The last mode is called the periodic mode, and that's mode 4, and that allows you to play multiple notes for this channel. problem is when you play multiple notes with channel 4, then you can only play the same pitch on channel 3, except only 2 octaves higher. So it's pitch locked. So you can't play anything separate while mode 4 is activated. So mode 4 would look like this. And so, yeah. So let's say if I were to have like this. Now watch. Did you see that? I'm only isolating it to channel 3 now. Now why did it do that? Because it's playing the notes that's in channel 4, so it's pitch locked. So the way, the only way around that is that you would have to shut that mode off and go back to the normal mode. And then it plays it the way it should. Let's see how that sounds. And then we can turn it back on later, like that. Excuse me. There we go. So the more skilled you get at using the PSG chipset, you learn how to go back and forth between the 2 modes to get like a really cool bassline sound from the channel 4 portion, and still go back to using the channel 3 and the regular timing at the right time. So a little simple example that I like to show people from time to time is this one right here. So we see that we can almost have our cake and eat it too, but not quite. But since it goes so fast, it'll trick your ears into thinking that it's 2 separate channels playing separately, but actually sometimes they're acting as 1 channel, sometimes they're acting as 2 separate channels, and that's kind of the trick there. So it's just a matter of skill and technique, and you'll learn as you go. Let's see, are there any questions or notifications so far? Thanks, man. I need to finish it sometime. One thing I'm really bad about is actually finishing things that I start. So I get a lot of cool ideas, but I just don't have the executive function to always finish them. It's one of my own weaknesses, and I would almost be happier if I could just make slightly more mediocre music, but even be able to finish it more often. But I guess you can't have everything in life. It's a lesson I've learned, but it's okay. I've finished songs and I'm happy. So let's see. Now let's get to what we were originally going for, the Super Mario Bros. 3 Sega Genesis cover for the ending theme. Alright, so just for a refresher, we're gonna hear that tune and Famitracker. So I imported it from the NSF file, the original game data, so we can actually see the notes for this track here. Oh. Well, that's not the one that I... Oh. Oh, that's because my computer... Okay. Alright. I have to tweak this track again. Just take a second here. So we're just going to listen through the song about once, and we'll see how the Super Mario Bros. 3 ending theme is. Okay, and it basically just loops back around at that point. Okay, so I just got a question from Sonic the Blue Rat. He says, what drum samples would you recommend for Mega Drive songs? I like the snare of Pugsy. Well, let me see. Now I personally don't really prefer to use drum samples from other games. What I like to do is I like to use high quality samples from sample kits that are either from the 80s or even later, or I like to design my own FM drums, you know. So sometimes I don't even like to use samples at all, and so I'll make up my own drums from the synthesizer that's built into the chip. And that's a lot more challenging. But if you just want samples, well, let me see if I can find my Akai samples. So I have a whole database of them. Desktop sort out. Did I have them in here? Oh boy. Well, music production, no. I always lose my stuff. I'm just really unorganized with my stuff sometimes. Oh. Did I disconnect my... Yeah, I disconnected my hard drive here. Well, just look up Akai drum samples. Here, I'll open up a track that I know that I have, like an 80s drum kit thing going on in there. So let me open it up, and it's really defined and really nice. Let me see. Happy Beat. There we go. So let's hear how the drums sound. It's a very 80s kind of sound. So if we isolate it to FM channel 6. And I use the noise channel to accompany it. So I got these from an actual 1980s drum kit. So that worked for this song. And what I did is that I took the bass drum and I took the snare drum and I combined them into a single wave file. So I layered them and then I output it as one sound. And that's a technique you can do since you only have one sample channel. Sometimes you can combine two samples to play at the same time as one. So that's a workaround of the limitations. So anyway, that's just kind of what I do sometimes. But then I'll show you a song here that I did recently where I don't use any samples at all. And yeah, you know, I basically use the Sega. And there's all kinds of ways to skin a cat. Sorry, no offense to all the cats out there. We'll just listen to the drums. And how I give it the real mega pop is with the noise channel. So when I combine it with the FM channel, but if I just play the FM alone. So anyway, that's kind of one of my techniques. Making FM drums. I'm still learning how to make FM drums and I have no clue. Well, you've come to the right place. I think I will go ahead and show you a little bit of that. Let me see. So let me just open up a new file, huh? Yeah. And we'll just go to the basic Sega Genesis one. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to go and use I like to use algorithm 6. Okay. Let me get my little pin here. I might not get around to everything I had planned, but that's okay. This is a useful thing for Genesis musicians to know. Okay, so all right, I wanted to use that. All right. So what we have here is okay, this is going slow. Please excuse me. Operator 1 and operator 2, they will combine and to the audio port, okay? And then operator 3 and 4, please excuse my awful drawings here. Operator So they actually combine into one signal, and then operator 3 and 4, they act as their own sinusoidal wave. Okay. So what that means for us is that we can use the feedback control to add some hissing for the snare drums. for the first two operators, and then operator 3 and 4 can be that really thick, heavy bass part, or that slap of the snare drum. So I'll show you how that works. I hope this makes sense. I might be getting a little too technical, but let's just start with this, okay? All right. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna bump that feedback up. So it sounds weird right now, but I'm trying to get that snare sound just right. And you know, there is no one right way to do it. Just whatever works for your song. But we'll try this. We're gonna start raising the sinusoidal waves. Now what you could do is you could detune those slightly to add more of a chorus kind of effect. And so just and you should be able to use it for the bass and the snare drum. So if I put like an off command right there, right? And what I want to do next for the bass drum, you just put the number 2 in the effects field, and then that next box over, I'd say you put in like a 7/7. That's a little, let's see, there you go. That's like a bass drum. And then I could put like a maybe a 2/4/4. It's crude, but that's kind of the general idea, you know. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope that makes sense. Okay. Any more questions? Thunder Force 4. FM drums managed to blend with the synth rock and jazz inspired themes. Air Raid. Yeah, they did an excellent job on that soundtrack. In terms of any other drum samples, honestly, I just really don't know what else would really work. It really just depends on what kind of sound or aesthetic you're going for. There's all kinds of drum samples out there. I mean, feel free to experiment. But I personally like to use the 1980s. The 1980s. They're called the Akai kits, AKAI. And a lot of those have some really thick, rich pop drum kind of sounds, like you heard earlier. Okay, now back to that cover. Okay, Super Mario 3. Let's see what I've got so far. Now what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try to finish up the melody right now. And they get into this minor plagal cadence, which I kind of like. All right. Let me see here. Okay. Let's see. Well, that's what they're doing here with this, right? Oh no, wrong. Oh, I see. Duh. C, D, okay, C, D, F. There we go. F, G. Did I get that right? C, A sharp, alright. Did I missing? Okay, C, A sharp, G. Yeah, I got it. Now let's finish up that bass line. Ah, something different happened. I feel it. I hear it. Something slightly modified happened in that one. Oh. Resolution issues. Fun stuff. Okay, so let's try to see what happened, shall we, folks? Because we got to catch these little details. Because I like to be detailed. C, D, F, C, D, F, G, G, whoa. Okay. No, no. Maybe not. F. I guess it must just be my ears. Oh well. Whatever. Whatever. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, So we have to do like three times of this, okay? Let's see here. So I think that sounds a little better. What's the octal disparities? Oh yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm not going to focus on the sample drums right now, but just the basic melody and stuff, like I said. We're just going to okay, so that fifth right there, it's actually going to be like a oh man. There we go. Yeah, that's the correct way right there. Okay, so if you have any questions or anything. Nope, no other questions at the moment. Stream's still up, but if you know, feel free to ask or interact. Is kind of what this is about. D sharp, nice. D sharp. Okay. Let me look at a question because I'm not able to really comprehend and listen to stuff at the same time. It's another one of my weaknesses. How would you do a cover of arcade title like Thunderblade? It's quite difficult to find covers of that song, and I really want to convert the arcade one from Mega Drive. Super Thunderblade had maybe quite an underwhelming soundtrack compared to the arcade one. Yeah. I guess what you would do is that you would have to go and find the original song, and basically the best you can just try to transcribe by ear. Thunderblade, I think that's one of the difficult ones to find. What? Well, first of all, and I'm about to wrap this up, but let me help you out with this. I think I made some good progress, and so I'm going to try to help you out with this. So, Thunderblade arcade. Okay. Thunderblades. It's an arcade game. Platforms. Arcade. So what did the arcade game look like? There's a wiki for it too. Here's some gameplay, I think.
the peaceful town of Santa Fe, New Mexico, on the quiet street of Rufina.
Pretty groovy. Okay, so let's go back to the wiki page. So I want to find out what the sound chip is for it, because that's one of the things we got to find out here. Alright. It should tell us. Well. We got to find that out first to really know. Oh, it's a YM2151. I think. Well, you just may be in luck here. Because if that's the case, we can easily dissect it and even make a Deflemask version. Okay. Sweet. Alright. Got to look for the VGM file. I think they might be here. Underlay. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. You see there's a master download. Okay, download. So we can download this. Download the VGMs for it and just play the music alone. So this is like our first step here. So I can actually open it with Winamp. That's a cool sound. There. Okay, so I'll explain what I'm doing here. Let me go back to my thing here. No, you're not dumb. It's just the internet. You know, everybody makes typos on the internet, even me. The arcade version was on Sega board, Sega X board. That helps. Yeah, it's on the YM 2151 YM2151 chip. So Deflemask does this. However, that kind of doesn't help if you want to make a Genesis version. So let me show you the dynamics with how this works. So I can use a program like Winamp to open up the original video game audio in its raw data form, sort of. It's converted to register output. So what that means is that I can isolate any of the channels. So I can isolate the FM channels and also the Sega PCM channels. Yeah. And also an 8-channel Sega PCM chip. Okay. So basically I have 16 channels of sound, and 8 of them are FM, and the other 8 are going to be PCM samples, which is mostly used for that, for like the drums, so multi-channeling for the drums, and also the bass line. So I'll kind of show you how that works. And what I'm going to do is that while I play this song back, I'm going to mute the FM chip, and you're only going to hear the drum samples, and then I'm going to slowly isolate it to the bass line only. So you're going to kind of hear that. So here we go. It's coming out of channel 1. Yeah. So essentially you have two options here. You can, if you're trying to downscale it to a Sega Genesis version, it shouldn't be too hard because there's not a whole lot that happens with the FM chips. Most of the magic is in the PCM chip. The FM chip sounds like they're mostly for just chords, and they're not doing a whole lot with it. So that should be easy for like maybe 3 or 4 channels of the Genesis chip. And then the bass line, you have two options. You can either make your own FM bass line and use sample drums, or you can make FM drums and use a sample for the bass line. So those are two of your options there. So it sounds like four Genesis channels for the FM melody and the chords, and then yeah, bass line can be FM or sampled, and drums can either be FM or sampled. So that's kind of up to you how you want to approach that. I don't want to give you any kind of rule there, but that would be my suggestion. Let's see here. Let me examine what the YM chip is doing. So there's going to be no drums or bass line, and we're just going to play this through. Oh, sorry. My bad. Excuse me, guys. I do have a phone call. It'll be just a sec. Okay, I'm back, guys. Yeah, phone calls. Yeah, no, it was some good friends of mine. So I'm actually going to be wrapping up soon and going over there. But the name of that handy program, it's called Winamp. And find. Okay, you know what? Yeah, download Winamp. Then download the ChipAmp plugins, and I'll show you where to find that. So you have to like go to where you can download Winamp. Yeah, the free latest version and so forth. There's a lot of sites where you can still download it. But you download that. And then what you do is you download the ChipAmp plugins to work with those. ChipAmp. And this is the site for that. It should show up when I post it here. Oh my. There. Bada bing. So yeah. And then you can essentially download the Thunderblade music. So this is where you can download the VGM pack for the original arcade game. I'll just go ahead and post it for you. Oh my. There we go. Ha. Yep. So yeah, hopefully that helps out. And I'll just show you how I got there. So if we kind of backtrack, since I have Winamp installed, well, I can just open up any one of these files and it opens up. Or maybe this. Okay, this is kind of slow going, so I don't know what's going on here. I click on this thing and I go to Options, Preferences, and Plugins Input, and then I go down to VGM Input Plugin. You can just double click on it and go to Muting, and you go down to either this or right under it is the Sega PCM chip. Anyway, okay, I hope that helps out. So, any more questions before I head out? Anybody? Alright, well, you know, I hate to do this publicly and stuff, and I'm not trying to call or single anybody out, and I don't want people to be afraid, but somebody recently left the Deflemask community because it for some reason did not line up with their ideology. So I just want everybody to be aware that everybody who's on that community has different opinions from one another. You know, there is no one ideology that dominates the Deflemask community. Now, some people, including myself, were discussing some topics that may be viewed as controversial or somewhat offensive to other people. Nothing bad, but just stuff that, you know, some people may not disagree with. And that was maybe about a month ago or so. But nothing came of it. We were just having a little conversation, and then it just faded away. But, you know, if anybody has an issue or if anybody disagrees, you know, I mean, you should always feel free to speak up, you know. We don't all have to agree with each other on every single point, you know. I mean, we should all be free to speak up and speak our minds equally. You know, nobody's going to bully anybody on that community. Nobody should be afraid to speak up, you know. So I just wanted to add that in there. And, you know, I'm sorry to see anybody leave. I don't exactly know why they left. They didn't really say. They just said it is because of ideology. So it's really vague, but, you know, hey. Oh, Super Just Spade. Sorry, bud. You pretty much missed the whole ordeal, shall we say. But once it finishes uploading, you can watch the whole thing probably in about an hour from start to finish. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I just answered a bunch of questions and made some more progress on that Super Mario 3 ending theme. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. And I love y'all, and God bless.